Maybe I should introduce the kid. She's very feisty. So, hi, we're here. I'm Laura Jane, and this is my friend Diane Ambrosini. Am I saying that? Or is it Ini, like an S sound?
It's more like a Z.
Okay, Ambrosini. I'm glad I finally said. I realized we must have now known each other for many years because we could see and rendezvous at the Ojai Yoga. I love that.
Yeah.
And it was usually when we were seeing Eric Schiffman, not when we would usually in the same place at the same time for sure. Hadn't that weekend?
Yeah, yeah, there were a couple. I think there were a couple of years where we kept being in the same workshop.
Yeah, and
it's cool.
That's how the universe made sure we became friends.
Exactly. And even then too, and I'm one of those people that's really weird. It's like, okay, now I know when your birthday is because I always knew from the crib.
My birthday weekend.
Yes, perfect. Good gift.
Yeah, that was such a part of my growth. And then that now, yeah, you're such a yoga teacher leader, really. I know you teach teachers and put out a couple now that, and I know your most recent one was yoga, right?
Yeah.
Yoga. What's that?
You're breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry.
Oh, what's the I was just referencing that I know you put out a couple of yoga books. So your book was for teachers, right?
Yeah, actually, and students.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just the most recent is just the second edition of the first one. So it's instructing hatha yoga, and it's it's set up as a guide for teachers, and then students can use it too to like because it's laid out with a lot of cues and steps basically to go through the asanas, and we also have information on the yoga basics at the beginning. So when we first put the book out, it was basically set up to be a bare bones where people can have a place to start. And then of course we were thrilled to know that people use that as a starting spot and to go from there. And it's still pretty good seller right now. There are a few teacher training programs that definitely use it all the time.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah, it's neat to hear. Oh yeah, oh I know you because you did that. I was like, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So
busy and offering classes and opportunities for community in your town in San Diego before the quarantine time, and then you really have taken it to online though, and you're actively still working with people in groups and one-on-one online, right?
Yes. I have a couple of people that I'm going to their homes just because they have been literally sequestered at home. A couple of older folks, and just to have another human coming into their homes has been really, really a blessing. And but I didn't do that for quite some time. We made that space go out for quite a while, and who knows how that's going to pan out as we move forward. But I know that for me has been, I was a little bit hesitant going, okay, this just feels weird now to be, with people because we haven't been that much. I mean, it's not like I haven't been out and about, grocery shopping and doing things like that. But, the stuff, as we called it in the before times is different.
Yeah.
And I think, just to play off of the topic here for the day, I think that's where, at least at this point in our progression, people are now kind of dealing with the fact that, that's the before time. It's not going to be the same moving forward. And I think the biggest thing is like we all recognize that change is difficult, no matter if it's planned but this was so sudden and so out of our realm of truly awareness, because I think this certainly for a lot of people has brought them into awareness of a lot of things that they weren't aware of before.
So true, right? On so many, just the possible uncertainty always present, right? How much we really can't much, and then just the awareness, things about the world, and conditions for people that we all become aware of, right?
Exactly.
that you've been such a yoga teacher out there, spiritual person who's so also very grounded in your awareness and your activism, right? And you're authentic and even fiery about that.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, but it's really interesting because, I've really been looking at, I've really been stretching beyond my comfort zone in a lot of ways. And so I've appreciated some of the groups that I've been interacting with that they're truly living and settling into the paradox of, okay, we need to do self-care. We need to take care of ourselves. We need not to do 3,000 things in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, we still have to do things.
Uh-huh.
And maybe it's activism, maybe it's, just helping, maybe it's doing something, but trying to really find that balance between the two. And I think for a lot of people, especially in the wellness community, even for those of us who are putting that out there, it's still a struggle.
Right. Right. I think it's so valuable to hear from someone like you. You seem so like you've got your personal practices really in order, right? But even you as someone who's found that balance with yourself, right? See how much having the right community right now is part of that balance. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Always meant and part of yoga, right? Union joint. So that's beautiful to express that. You're making part of your self-care, right? That
Yeah.
getting with other people. And speaking of, you were saying, and I'd love to even ask about what you're noticing in your work, teaching groups pretty consistently online right now, and part of people's processes. You were mentioning, noticing a couple of maybe feelings that. What do you feel like you want to share about that?
With the group, I'm still affiliated with our yoga studio, and it's been interesting to watch how many people actually this was kind of profound to me, and it's kind of daunting at the same time, because there have been a couple of people that have said, the fact that you're still holding these yoga classes, even if they're online, they literally are saving my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such a profound, I don't know, part of me, it's a sense of responsibility, which I think is important, because I think sometimes, at least in my experience with the yoga world, it's like, oh, why do you want to teach yoga? Oh, because it's done so many good things for me, and I just want to share that, which is great. But it's like, but kind of like with great power comes great responsibility, just like, and it's like, we need to embrace that, and also look a little bit deeper, going, okay, am I just dialing this in? I really put a lot more thought. This sounds bad, but it was like, I think I put a lot more thought into how I teach and what I teach, because it's so different. And, I've had to find a way to tap into, not having that face-to-face energy, and then finding it, through a TV screen. And it's really hard. And you probably have experienced this too. When, some people don't put their face up on that screen. So that's kind of you know, it makes it even a little more daunting, because it's like, it's just sort of guesswork. And
Go ahead.
well, it's like, and I think the thing is, then the only thing I find I'm able to do is like really tap into myself, and not really put myself into that person's position, because I can't do that, but kind of go, what could be helpful today?
I really like to teach in that way as well. And what do you get the sense are some of the parts for these people coming to your group online classes, and they feel like it's saving their life? Like, what parts of it do you sense are the most potent for these people? Do you feel like it's the coming together with others, maybe self-care, or the actual poses, or the connecting with breath, or all of the above? I don't know. Do you get the sense that any parts are more healing or therapeutic, especially right now for people?
I think, obviously it depends on the individual, but for the, in the biggest picture, I really do think that camaraderie and knowing that they're in a space with other people is really, really, like, oh my gosh, yes, there are other people out there.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, we're experiencing this class session. We're experiencing kind of the same energies together, even though, it's a they're not in the same room. But, and I think too, in some ways, for some groups of people, that not physically being in the group is even more, excuse me, even more beneficial for them.
Yeah.
So in a weird way,
Yeah. Right.
I'm definitely looking for the silver linings and everything.
Uh-huh.
But, and I think, yeah, I'm sure the movement of the poses, doing the poses, and then also the philosophical, parts are coming in, because, it is hard. We know, I mean, you really have to make a habit and do that. And, for some people, it's really hard just to move
Yes.
without some
Right.
sort of push.
Right. Right. Yeah. But I think it's funny that you and I, even though we've got a lot of expertise with the poses, we don't always put first as, the thing we're trying to sell about yoga, right? Because I
Exactly.
know that's the part most people think of. And then, like you and I know, though, it's really important to use the right ones and in a really therapeutic way, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, fun that you and I are equally excited to share about all the other aspects of yoga, including community, right? Like that's always been a limb of yoga, right? Is this
Yeah.
sangha, right? And the finding community was always meant to be part of a yoga, right? Mm,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah,
And I think that
and
is a big, strong pull.
it
I'm
makes sense.
sorry. Yeah.
Want it more than ever, too. It really
Yeah.
does. Uh,
And I do, even though I haven't really, actually I haven't, except for in a teacher training, taught people in person during this whole time. And I did that, basically it was only one day. But we were out in the park, and there were, enough people, there was enough space and stuff. And that was lovely. But I know that there are some people that just can't quite grasp the video part. And so they've been, literally searching for those classes that are outside and stuff. And, and quite honestly, I see some that I think these are perfect. They're, they are being mindful and careful and stuff like that. But there's also some that you go, seriously? These people are too close together and nobody has a mask on to start off. And it was like, those kinds of things that I go, we still, I think that's a yogic principle. I mean, we're being careful for, and we're caring for other people, by following some of these rules that, maybe are just super inconvenient and annoying. But we don't know what's going on with everyone's, health. And so I think it's really, I think we really do need to step back from our own egos for sure, and go, you know what? Even if this is all bunk, even if none of this stuff works, is like, at least I was making an effort because I thought that it could help.
right, exactly, right. And is what's supposed to be the deeper aspect of these practices is like the namaste awareness, right? That if I'm divine and you're divine, and living like that. And then I've been thinking about how our friend and teacher Eric Schiff, one of the last times I was around him, was talking about how we could now go out into the world and look at every man and woman and person and say, like, brother, sister, right? Like, say that to ourselves as we're looking out into the world. And I feel like, oh my gosh, like that kind of awareness right now, right? It'd be so beautiful if we could, more of us, be in that. But like, we about doing these practices, using the philosophies, like you said, the perspectives, getting in the psychology that look out into the world and say brother, sister. And yeah, we may be fierce about that,
Yeah.
talking to our brothers and sisters, but
Exactly.
with love. It's an interesting thing to balance. And what do you think about these ideas that people talk about, like masculine and feminine energies, and if one is coming onto the planet at certain times and others? How do those kind of strike you?
It's so weird. For me, it's like I always look at I don't know. I've always been that person where it's like, well, I just think everything sort of needs to find its balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of agree that there's like, our if we're going to use all the terms, it's like everything's pretty yang right now, everything's pretty active, and
Uh-huh.
so it's like, yeah, there's probably a little imbalance there. Because if you think about it, a lot of our illnesses and things like that, are coming from people not resting enough, people just continuing to go,
Um,
and being out of balance that way. It's like, and even to the point where you think about, like, people are literally like running and they're eating at the same time. It's like,
yeah.
our bodies aren't built for that. So, and I think too, I think the thing that in my mind is going on right now is that we as a group, whatever that group is that you want to look at, is becoming aware of the imbalance.
Mm,
I mean, for sometimes you go, oh,
mm,
for Pete's sake, can't you tell this is way out of balance? But
mm.
for some people, it takes a little more, shaken to notice.
Right.
And so then we have the ability to bring out that other balancing energy, which is a little more calming.
Uh,
And of course, I don't know, in my lifetime, I've never seen people being so totally chill that nothing was getting done. And that might just be about when I've been alive. I don't know, but there's always been movement.
uh-huh.
And within my lifetime, I've seen things super speed up. And I know you have too. It's just sort of like, oh my God, we can't possibly do anything more, but we have to do 5 more things.
Mm. Wow.
And I really appreciate the groups of people who are now, basically calling self-care, radical, just kind of like a radical pushback to all the other stuff. And again, to me, I like your part is that, that's a little bit feisty and fiery, even though, again, that's kind of the paradox where it's like feisty going, no, I'm going to go rest. And then they do.
Yes.
So kind of living with the appreciation that everything is so, frenetic, and recognizing the fact that, the world will not stop if you read a book for half an hour.
Mm.
The world will not stop if you take 15 minutes and really enjoy your lunch. It's not going to stop.
Mm.
you
And
know
you're talking about, which seems like almost like a yoga, we could call it like a yoga response to things or to life, like in what you're saying. If we sense that there's a lot of yang, a lot of chaos, or a lot of a certain that it as a yoga response would be respond by realizing now how can we bring in or to kind of the maybe the opposite, or right, what could help balance that, right? And I love how you talk about it as like a collective balance. It feels like and we're almost like be finding homeostasis right now, right? And it makes so much sense to me as you say it. For a lot of us, we're going to do that by a lot more rest, a lot more down, a lot more the opposite of that frenetic chaos.
yeah
Um, and like that, I don't think there's really any danger of any of us adopting that. It seems like it's very Tao, like flow, kind of soft, right? And so I guess would say maybe it's like more, maybe that's what a feminine energy is. If some would say that, like what we could use more. So, but yeah, that would be our response. If we're realizing that's happening in the world, or we're even that, then the response would be, okay, how can I balance out? And it would be, of course, to focus on bringing more of the opposite energy into our life. And I
yeah
don't for me, like many years into teaching that I really realized how much it's about, like it's all energy. We're doing amazing energy work with all this. Like, do you feel like that? Where's your awareness of that, and also like our awareness of how much we feel the other people's energy, and how our practices help us with that, or take on other people's energy.
yeah I mean, that is an interesting thing, because I don't know. I just noticed this stuff about myself recently, and the other thing that is a really cool recognition, and I'll get back to that because it
Yeah.
kind of brings this up, is like, really when we were forced basically to stop, we all had to sit in our own stuff. There was nothing else for us to do for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We had the opportunity to just sit there and worry, which, I'm, I'm sure all of us did at some point, but as things went on, we're like, okay, let's see what moving forward means at this moment. And still there was this pushback going, no, sit down
Yeah.
and listen to your own stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you can talk about it as the shadow and stuff, but I don't know, I think shadow gets a bad name, but but I think I just like that other part of us that we just tend not to want to deal with.
Right.
And so I've been really exploring some of that with myself, and noticing um noticing some of the tendencies that I have in myself, I'm starting to notice in other people. And so it's sort of like, to me, going, oh, okay, so I have a little more awareness about this, so I can see what it's like in their life. And then it kind of turned that around as a mirror, going, oh, this is how it works with you too.
Yeah.
you know? And like the other day, I was cracking myself up. I
Oh,
was like, I heard the same message from like 5 different places. And I just sort of went, well, okay, then I get it now.
ooh, yes. I love that. I do love that. I mean, that could be an ad about the magic practices, right? Like, I feel like the more we're tuning ourselves with our practice, that's right. Like, ooh, things very synchronistic, right? We're just everything can like it has that meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And for me,
another conversation series. Like the next fun one will be like, how magical can it get now? Like,
exactly. I like that. I love that. Yeah, that's great. And the funny thing too was because of the space there was, because the message truly was slow down. But I kept going, well, really, I have that, but what I recognized was, it was then, what action was I supposed to take? Like, what actions weren't, I know that sounds like that paradox again. It's like, okay, so what actions have I not been doing?
yes. Ooh.
And it was sort of like, oh my goodness, I haven't spent enough time with these people.
Uh,
Even though we're here together, I like,
yeah.
we've just been doing so much stuff. It's like, I haven't been really present there. I was like, I've slowed down everything. And I thought, yeah, I read my book. I drank all my water today, all those things. But it's like, oh, no, no. Now there's an action that goes with that.
Ooh.
And it was sort of like, oh, well, then put that totally away. Go sit outside, and spend time with the people you love.
Uh, yeah. And they're really helping me see how our time in like when we be super busy and active, like we were talking about, we need that stillness and quiet, right? And pause and rest. But then in that time, we really get more clear about action, right? So it's like
Yes,
it feeds itself. Oh, that's so cool.
exactly. Exactly. It's funny. Like those are the things that I just get really excited about. Because I'm like, okay, if suddenly I have an epiphany or whatever, and it makes me laugh, I'm like, oh, I got it. Where sometimes you have an epiphany and it just pisses you off, and you go, no.
Yes. And I feel like even what we're talking about with all of this is, do you remember Eric Clapton's analogy with the dog, where he would talk about that as like the kind of God experience? Do you remember that story?
Yes, I love that
And
story.
I feel like that's some of what we're talking about with both of those parts of how these practices shape, like really shape our lives. Like it tunes us, have those kind of God moments of right, or whatever we call it, those magical moments where we feel like we see the magic of it all. And then that it's about facilitating the epiphanies too, right? Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And kind of, again, kind of the golden fun side of the self-care, right? So it's like, yes, we can also be like, oh my God, we need it so bad. And a lot of us would almost be dead without it, which is so true, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Also and like you and I've seen, especially if we get consistent with it and really get into what really works for us, like you said, and if noticing we're not getting the community aspects, like we need to allow all the aspects as much as possible, but that, yeah, it can lead to those great pieces too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Being in that place to be of help. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just such, as the owner of our studio, she has this phrase. She always goes, I don't think I've ever heard her really say anything's bad or good, and if something's a little off, she'll always go, it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Because then you go, well, there's not really any judgment there other than it's different. And that's not really a judgment. It's like, it either is the same or it's different.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's interesting how um, it really does shape our experience, how we're talking about it. And then the people that we're hanging out with, the way that they talk about things is definitely influenced. Right. So and so much even about how the words we're using, and a lot about the judgment we're in or not, how we're judging our judgment. So to be in support of those aspects, because I feel like that's some of the deepest therapy. Yoga and meditation is the non that we can get into, but it's maybe the hard part too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I hear you for sure.
Important parts of community. That's an awareness for me too, around help us stay out of that judgment, right? Because bark, bark.
Oh, it's so funny.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's already been just about 30 minutes. Is there anything like you want to say at the time, or that you knew you wanted to say about any?
No, first off, I just think that, part of, this, how do we deal and heal, is really you bringing this out into the open. And I'm so appreciative of that because, um, you know, it, in one way you look at it and go, well, of course we do that kind of thing, but you actually are doing that kind of thing in another niche, so that we can look at it from a different viewpoint. And I think that's super important. And I really appreciate that first off, take the time, because that is how you heal others. And I'm sure this is very healing for you to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm trained by every one of these conversations. So.
Yeah. And that's just so lovely. And, I started this meditation just this last week, and I really did it for myself, to start with, because
Yes. You mean this process that you're facilitating right now?
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because even, I meditate and this and that, but I'm like, sometimes, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes I meditate and I just kind of am there.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was leading this, I
Yeah.
for lack of a better way to put it, I had to put more effort into it. I had to expand,
Right.
And so it's like, so I'm getting so much out of it, even though they're only a half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of like, man, and even though it's like I'm up extra early for functioning, I'm up that early.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not functioning.
And that it's up like you to be a part of your own program.
Yeah. And it's like, you think that's a great thing. I mean, I see, when I see you walking down the street doing your morning stuff, I'm like, that girl has it going on. And and it was like, and she is loving every second of it. And the fun thing is, like, she is sharing it with all of us. And that's so cool. Cause sometimes we can't go out there and do that, or sometimes we're doing something else. So it's sort of like, you doing that, sharing that, is giving that to us as well, and so that's just so gratifying.
That's really, really awesome feedback. And I'm glad you brought up this current program you have, as you said that people could still join in on. It's based around the chakras.
Yeah. So I started it. Let's see. Today we were on the heart chakra, so I started it 4 days ago, and so each day we, so I guess it was Wednesday I started it, and we started at the base chakra, and we focused on that, but then we still moved through the rest of the lineup. And then, so then like the second day when we got to the Svadhisthana, we talked about that, what's going on there and how, and then dipping back into the root and then moving up and then using the the energy of our focus chakra and bringing it up through. And so my intention was, because I have had a lot of people saying how stressed out they are with the election and still with the pandemic and 53 other things, and I thought, well, let's do this until Tuesday, just because I thought, and then I kind of laughed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like the end of Tuesday is going to make everything all mellow. Like, but then it kind of got me, because all the feedback I'm getting there, people are like, well, this is great. But I'm thinking not everybody wants to get up at, and meditate at 6:30 every morning. So I might do, moving forward after this, see if people are interested in doing it at least at once a week, to start that early, start your day, and then just maybe move on through the rest of the week for that, and, see what feedback that is. And again, it's sort of like, for me personally, again, it brings me a little bit more. And then when I teach that day, that energy just kind of continues on. And so it's just that, literal, yoga off your mat then.
Right.
Like the feelings, the intentions, and, stopping here and noticing that based on how you started your day.
Yeah. That's your life so much. And I love that you had just built your studio right before this, thinking you would have clients more, right? And then you have your recording studio. But that's so rad that you have like all these angles, right? That everything's gorgeous in there.
Yeah, it's so funny to just go, wow, how crazy was that? I mean, the timing.
Right? You just finished it, right? I mean, I was just following.
Yeah.
Like, the place sounds so amazing. It's your place in Diego. So, and I love, and I love that the studio is called A Gentle Way, right?
Yeah.
That just tells me it's such a different yoga studio too.
It is.
A lot of hard yoga there, names like that. So I swear I've barely heard anything with the name like that. So it tells me it's a place I would
Yeah. Yeah. And we do have a little more active classes, and we have some of the most restorative classes ever.
Yeah, in that sense too, because I know you teach classes as well. I'm sure but in a gentle way.
Exactly. It's more so it's like we don't want anybody going home like or being at home now, kind of going, So yeah, it's a very special place, and I'm so glad and so grateful that we've been able to string it out, because the actual physical doors are closed, and a lot of the students actually like it better because then they don't have to drive and stuff.
For sure. It can be more convenient. And I know you have a gorgeous website. Is that one of the places to find out about the meditation?
Yeah, it's die4yoga.com. So it's di4 yoga.com.
And that's where you're at on Instagram, is die4yoga, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I knew it was an amazing conversation, and it really was. And I look forward to doing more of these with you. I already know other topics I want to talk to you about.
Yay, excellent. So we get to see each other. That's great.
Right? That's the part. So,
and I really appreciate it. So, hey, have a fantastic Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween. Yeah, I hope it's spooky in a good way for you.
Exactly. And the new blue moon energy, let's do something interesting with that.
Yes, let's make it powerful. Good.
Yes, and magic.
Let's keep it.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time always.
And thanks to you all for being here with us. All right. See you soon. Yeah. Namaste.
Bye-bye. Namaste.